Wow, I have just had the most incredible thing happen. I was giving a soul regression and I went through the veil which is the mind. I went through it and I've come out to the other side and I'm looking in and it just all makes sense now. The mind, it's like there's so many layers of the mind, but what it is the lower layer of the mind, which is the ego. It runs off fear. And that's not a problem. It's just how it is. It's so that we can have that lower frequency experience. And then through the lower frequency experience, it creates pain and discomfort. And so we go, oh, this is too much. We want change. And so we start to look for different ways. And then we have these glimmers of the higher mind, which is the soul. And so then these glimmers expand, and these glimmers start to erase or dissolve some of that ego that was entrapping us in the lower mind, and then we become freer and lighter. And then what's just happened with me is you get to this point where there's like no mind, and then you're out, and you're actually outside, and you're able to use the mind to understand what it's all about. And then you see that it's so divinely perfect, and it's how powerful the mind is, and that the mind is such a gift because it's the thing that we experience the duality through. And then when we come to this space where I'm vibrating from now and I'm looking at it all, it's just so beautiful. And oh, it's hard to put into words. It's a feeling, a wonderful sense of I'm awake and my eyes are fully open and I can see clearly now. And I can see when the mind talks with fear, I can see it creates an energy pattern that like vibrates in the solar plexus, and also creates some energy in here in the chest. I can see the patterns that it's creating. And those patterns are like especially there so they can awaken us. But we're not trying to awaken. We're just having the experience of all that we experience. So there's no like a goal that we're trying to get to. And then if it's part of what we're here to have, then we'll go through that veil of that mind. And so there's many veils, and the one that I've just gone through has brought me to this space where I'm vibrating so much light, and I feel like I'm floating above the world, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just able to see all the perfect patterns. Like I can see everything that's led to this moment and how perfect it is. And wow. Oh, I bring this light to you. I channel this light to you. May you receive deeply. And there's something that I wrote down. I wrote, inside the mind and outside the mind. That's the duality. So you're either inside the mind or you're outside of it. It's those two. Even though there's levels and levels where you go to having less and less mind and more presence and soul living in the body, there's really only two. There's the ultimate reality where you're back in God and you're outside of mind. And then there's the inside, and you can look inside of it. So that I just wanted to share with you as well. I mean, I wrote quite a bit down. Let's see if there's anything here. Like, which level of the mind are you creating from? So there's the level of the mind that creates from that like pang of fear, which like gets you to like try fill the void. And then there's levels of the mind that make you feel like you're an imposter, or that you aren't truly you, and that's another level. There's so many layers, and this is like part of the fun exploration of the different layers, because once you see the layer, you pass through it, and then it no longer exists because it dissolves. And then I was taken all the way back to God, to Source, where there is nothing. There's just God. and it was the most purest vibration. And then from there, all of a sudden, so it was like black, and then there was like one spark of light, which was the mind, this powerful mind that made one spark. And from that one spark, I all of a sudden saw Atlantis. And there I saw Atlantis, which is this, maybe that's what they talk about in the Bible. I get a yes, like the Garden of Eden, like the water's pure and crystal clear, the animals, the plants, like, and it's all come from this like one spark of light. And then there's this whole garden, and then there's this priestess. And that's the first, one of the first, so thoughts, it's all thought. Through thought, everything is created. And so this thought created this priestess, which means that all of us have been in Atlantis, and all of us were that priestess, every single one of us, because that was the first experience. So it was God, and then that was like the first experience of thought and mind energy. And then from there, we've just gone wild with our mind, and creating more and more and more. And then from that, there's also been like this contraction in the mind because of like feeling separate and feeling like having to protect itself. And so then there's been fear in the mind. And so we've been creating from like a denser frequency. But that's also all perfect because it's meant to be. It's the involution and the evolution. And so then we have this realization that we have this powerful mind, and we are God, and we can use the mind to create beautiful things as well. And so that's where the liberation comes in, and that's like, it's limitless what we can create with the mind, because we can keep having more and more thoughts, and so we can keep on creating. And it's only limited when it's in like that lower frequency pattern of the ego, because it's like captive in the lower frequency, because you can feel it in your body, and it feels so strong that, like, you know, when you've got anxiety or when you've got like pain or sadness or any emotion, it's so strong that it's so your reality that you believe you're it, and so you're in it so deeply. But then when you go through it and in it, you liberate yourself from it, and you get lighter and lighter, and you're able to experience from this higher perspective, and then create from this frequency and perspective, and then it's limitless, because the imagination from this level is limitless, because that lower frequency mind's not there to stop you. But I understand why not everyone gets here, and why you have to get through the darkness to get here, because you have to face all the darkness, so that when you get to this amount of light, all you want to do is create from love. Like there isn't like an ego of like, I need to create something for me because I need more. There isn't that. It just doesn't exist here. So that makes so much sense. Why it's limited when you're in the lower frequency, because also you'd be wanting to create things just for the self. But from here, it's not even like you're wanting to create. It's like you and creation are one. So you have a thought and it happens. Oh, it's powerful. So we were all in Atlantis. We've all been this one priestess. So we've all been there. And then we've created more and more and more. And so here we are, and we're able, and what a wonderful dream. This, like a mind-made dream. It's immense. It's incredible to like contemplate it. That we've got this amazing mind that can create anything when we are truly liberated and living from the space of infinite truth. So here we are. So here I am right now, and just sharing it. And I just want to see what else I wrote down. Yeah, I feel like this is everything. So anything you, so when you get to this space of expansion, because you're vibrating so much light in your body, and you are at light, you are the light. So when you think, you create. And so what I'm noticing when I say that to myself, and I go, when I think I can create, I get like a little pang of like a here and here in the solar plexus and throat chakra. And so it's a feeling of like, I don't want to create from my mind. Like that's not even something I want. Like, I can feel that. So that's the pang. Maybe there's more work for me to do here, because that's when you see like an I don't want, it means that you're like the word's not coming, resisting. And so that's interesting. So going into that space and noticing, okay, so that's all right. You've learned that you don't want to manifest from the lower ego mind, but now you're vibrating in the higher mind. So what is it that, does this flow? And the feeling that comes through is that I don't need to create with the mind. I just am. And what I am is the energy that I am. And so what I am creates the next experience. And so it's the most beautiful, beautiful wave, beautiful wave of energy. It's just full. It's at the depth of the ocean, and it's full of all the colors and all the energy, and it's a sense, and it's a feeling, and it's an allowing, it's an acceptance, and it's a trusting, and it's a surrender. That's what it is. It's just, there is no conflicting mind there to go, but this is what we need to create. It's more of a, so I wonder what's going to be created next. And then you observe, and there's a feeling that comes up, and it's like, I'm going to give space for words to be spoken through me, and for me to be here with you, and for you to fully receive, and that's all. That's all. That's all. So there we go. That's today's experience. Namaste.